What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2 and another Hero Spotlight. We've had probably a couple of dozen people pretty heavily requesting a Mystic DPS build lately, and I'm going to get a Mystic DPS build done right now. Plus, I'm going to be doing some of the Mystic defenses over the next couple of days, so you should get your fill of Mystic hotness here over the next couple of days for Dungeon Defenders 2. Now, the Mystic is one of the just absolute best heroes for crowd control, and it comes in the form of Call to Madness. Now, of course, we know that Call to Madness is going to have all the baddies fighting each other, and there's nothing wrong with going and starting a fight with baddies every now and then, that is for sure. Now, this is also one of the few heroes in the game that currently is, in my opinion, best played as hero damage, hero crit, where most of the heroes are kind of making the switch over to ability power and hero crit. Hero damage, hero crit still rolls strong for the Mystic, and for several reasons really, but the biggest one being the Altar of Thame Incursion and the Shadowflame Knife. Now, of course, after you do Altar of Thame, you can go and buy higher versions of this knife at the Wayfarer in town, as those weapons that are purchased are going to drop at your strongest hero's gear level that's in your deck. Now, as I mentioned, this is a hero damage, hero crit build, so every piece of gear you want to make sure you have hero damage, hero crit, and since this is an endgame build, hero health. Now, besides the fact that it's an endgame build, we are also going to be basing a little bit of our damage off of hero health as well. So the more hero health, the merrier. And you want to get hero damage, hero crit, and hero health on every single piece. Now, there are quite a few Mystic-specific shards that I like to go with, and you can find all those shards over at DD2tools.com. There is a link just down below in the description. Let's go ahead and go piece by piece. Now, of course, we already talked about the Shadowflame dagger. I purchased this one, of course, from the Wayfarer in town, and it is just a beast. I like to go with Thundering Call, increases Call to Madness range by 40%. That one's really kind of optional. However, I like to go out and start big fights in the lanes, and Thundering Call is going to get that done. And then I also usually go Burning Strikes. Now, as a hero damage build, you're always going to want to use weapon shards that scale off of hero damage. So don't go throwing Haunting or any of the other shards that scale off of ability power, as you're not going to get the benefit you want. Take a look at a couple of those options here. See, yeah, there's like Haunting right there. That's an ability power shard. Raven Host is an ability power shard as well. So I personally always go for the Burning Strikes, and it definitely gets the job done for me. Now, in the headpiece, there's quite a bit of room here, but a few different things or two shards that I always like to use are Serpent's Appeasement and Inspiration. Serpent's Appeasement, of course, makes it so your appeasement just drops like mad, and Inspiration reducing the cooldown of your abilities by 40%. Now, Call to Madness is one of the only abilities we're going to use, and there's a few different reasons we're going to use it, even though a non-ability power hero usually doesn't get the greatest benefit from using their abilities. Call to Madness, of course, is very, very powerful CC that will just completely shut down a lane with the Mystic all by herself. So make sure you're throwing Call to Madnesses out there at every available opportunity, as they are just beast. Now, we're going to get into Call of Madness again a little bit later, but let's go ahead and move on to the chest. In the chest, it's a hero damage build, so Power Gambit is a natural, increasing hero damage by 50%, but increases damage taken from enemies by 20%. Sounds like a fair trade to me. Now, to help negate that a little bit, I do always use Bulwark, increasing armor by 40%, and then I like to go with Tempered Anger, where the Mystic loses appeasement 40% slower, and takes 100% less appeasement damage when at 0 appeasement. So, meaning, of course, you take no damage if you bottom out to 0. Now, of course, keeping your appeasement at full is always in your best interest, because who doesn't want to run around fast with a big old snake? Now, the gloves also have a few options. I personally go with Beacon of the Storm. Once per second, your primary attack spawns a lightning ball that deals 50% of your hero damage as storm damage, bouncing 3 times. Serpent's Kiss. The secondary attacks inflict poison on enemies, dealing 210% of hero health as damage per second for 5 seconds. Now, this is where hero health is important, as you want to make sure you've got high hero health, and that's going to scale up this Serpent's Kiss. Now, Serpent's Kiss does crit, so hero damage, hero crit. We're going to be critting all day with this dot just ticking away on the target for 5 seconds every time we use a secondary attack. And then Debilitating Madness. We talked about Call to Madness earlier. Call to Madness is now going to increase target's damage taken by 45%. Wow. Now, this, of course, is an ability we do not see on the target dummy because, of course, we don't have the ability to throw the Call to Madness on the target dummy and get it to turn. Now, in addition to that, you do not see the Serpent's Kiss damage on the target dummy. The secondary attacks inflicting the poison on enemies is not currently showing up. And then I just go with Speed Boost in the boots. Come on, we need more boot shards. Let's see some more. Now, this is not an accurate representation of the damage that the Mystic can do, as I mentioned, see there's a 2 million, there's a 4 million damage per second. As I mentioned, the Call to Madness is having no effect, so I didn't even bother casting it, and Serpent's Kiss also is having no effect on the dummy. So I spiked out at 4 million damage per second there with Dragolich, and that is not including all those other items. And this makes it so the Mystic can just burn down bosses like nobody's business. So when you combine the power of entire lane crowd control with the ability to burn bosses, it is just a win. Now, in addition to that, the Shadowflame dagger, we know it's got the cool little animation going on it. It has another huge benefit. Now, first off, that damage that we're doing with the Shadowflame and our secondary attack, if we look at the description here, it's going to bounce off enemies hitting up to 4 targets. So this bad boy is going to bounce around a little, and that's going to actually have one more increased benefit. Now, I haven't practiced at this. Lots of people do this ridiculously fast, but with a little practice and some testing different targeting on the Siege Roller, you can actually get that Shadowflame projectile to bounce around inside of the Siege Roller's hitbox, burning it down just insanely fast. Now, of course, all of this is going to scale with crit damage, so we get that big crit on top of it. My crit just from my secondary attack looks like it's, 828,000? Not too shabby there. Now, that's going to be having the chance to proc off of every single poison tick, plus every time that dagger bounces, just doing incredible amounts of damage. Now, you're not going to hit the big damage numbers like you see on some of the other heroes, but when you combine the ability to burn down bosses quick, plus make all the little guys just beat themselves up, it's definitely a winning combination, no doubt about it. Now, I did mention there's some options in the gloves. Now, as you noticed, I'm only at 30% crit chance. This I've actually been testing with for a little while, and it seems to be working out great, so I've stuck with it. However, it's probably in your best interest to not use Beacon of the Storm, and maybe go with that hero damage, or hero crit chance shard, which is going to give you an additional 10% chance to crit, just upping your damage potential even more. Beacon of the Storm, of course, has that cool animation with the little glowies, and I just can't live without it. The Mystic will follow the basic DPS hero Ascension, meaning your first 20 points in the utility category always go into hero crit chance. In the offense category, your number 1 is going to be hero damage and hero health. So to get those guys maxed out, don't worry about the rest quite as often, Call to Madness is going to be something good that you're going to want to go into if you use it frequently. Now, I do use it a lot, so I always go into Call of Madness first in the offense category before doing hero damage and hero health. However, you could do whatever you want. If you're not using Call to Madness as frequently, then of course don't bother with it. However, if you aren't using it frequently, you're really missing out. In the utility category, after hero crit chance, I always go up to maximum appeasement, then to run speed just because of the quality of life, and everything else into hero crit damage. Of course, this hero is just going to be DPS, so the defense category, do what you want, and the lower half of that utility Ascension box we won't be using at all on this build. So hope you enjoyed. Hope this helps everyone get their Mystic built out right. Go get yourself a Shadowflame dagger. Those things are just plain awesome. So thank you again. Click that like button and please subscribe, and I will be back soon with some more Dungeon Defenders 2. We'll see ya.